You're listening to the EquiRatings Eventing Podcast, the show with a light-hearted look at the eventing world, all of the big event previews, reviews, and special guests, and of course, backed up with all of the key EquiRating stats. Welcome to the EquiRatings Eventing Podcast. Welcome to the EquiRatings Eventing Podcast, and it is a Wandin Park preview show because this weekend, some exciting combinations in Australia will be going head-to-head against one another. And we are looking forward to previewing some of the action still to come. But I'm delighted to be joined by Jarryd Stanley, we were just discussing, Jarryd, what your role is at Wandin Park, and there were a number of titles. So welcome to the show. Good to have you with us.
Thank you very much, Nicole. It's great to be here.
Do you know what? We spoke 12 months ago, and little did we know, Jarryd, about what was to unfold, because we recorded the preview show for Wandin Park 2020. We had it all ready to go. We did actually release it in the end, but unfortunately, you guys were one of the first events to have to cancel because of coronavirus. It was meant to be your 40th anniversary, but you're back celebrating, albeit a year later, in slightly different style, I imagine.
Yes, it was absolutely devastating cancelling less than a week out from the event last year. You know, we had massive things planned, big screens, big parties, and unfortunately had to pull the pin on it. We sort of looked at how we could run it as a smaller number, but as the hours unfolded, it got worse and worse over here, and unfortunately the decision was to just cancel it, which was absolutely devastating because it was almost basically all ready to go. So it was just, devastating for everyone involved because so many hours had just been put into it.
It was very much like that. It changed on an hourly basis, and literally from us recording this preview show to a day or 2 days later, it had changed so much. But obviously, 12 months on, what is the situation in Australia in terms of events? Is it behind closed doors? Is it just volunteers? How are you guys running it this weekend?
This weekend, we were starting to get a little bit nervous this time, and just after New Year's, around February as well, we had about a week lockdown, which put a bit of everyone on nerves. But this year, excitingly, we got government approval last week to run with spectators, which is really exciting for us after last year, and also just exciting for the sport to be able to get everyone back out to an event, whether you're a rider or a spectator.
Oh, spectators, Jarryd. It's like the dream, isn't it? Of being able to have an event like we used to have, where you can go along and see people compete and enjoy it all in every aspect of whatever way you're involved in it. But good news is as well that if you are not in Australia and not able to make it to Wandin Park, you are actually live streaming it. Is that right?
Yes, that's right, Nicole. So this year, again, we're going to live stream the international cross-country phases on Sunday, the 21st of March. From our time, it'd be from 12:30 p.m, but it's about 1:30 a.m. British Standard Time. But that can be viewed for free on our Facebook page at Wandin Park or at wandinpark.com.
That's amazing, and huge credit to you all, because it is a real exercise in putting on live streaming. So listeners, if you do want to catch any of the action, go onto Facebook. You don't have to get up in the middle of the night if you're in the UK or if you're in Eastern time or in the US or anything like that, because you could watch it back if you wish to. Let's set the scene a little bit, because we're obviously going to talk in a minute about the combinations and the ones to watch. But what is Wandin Park like? Where are you located? What is your terrain like as well? Give us kind of the overview of what we can expect.
Well, Wandin Park is based on a 300-acre property. It's in the heart of the Yarra Valley, so about 1 hour east of Melbourne, which is a huge wine country with big wineries, lovely restaurants, beautiful views. The property itself is undulating, so perfect for spectators. the spectator viewing main area is at sort of the top of the hill, and the cross country sort of winds around the lower part of the track. So you find that you're able to see 70% of the cross country course from right up top of the hill, which is just perfect.
That's amazing. And the fact that it's in wine country. One day in the future, Jarryd, I will be inviting myself to Wandin Park. It sounds ideal. I think I'm right in saying as well, isn't there a massive bottle of wine or something that combinations jump on the course? Is that right?
Yes, Nicole, we have probably about a 5 metre plus high big bottle, which is after our sponsored Shandon, which the horses jump through the keyhole of it, which is pretty impressive, and definitely you don't see that around anywhere else in the world.
No, absolutely. That is amazing. Look, we cannot wait for Wandin Park. Decided that not only is it able to go ahead, but it is able to go ahead with spectators, and that wherever you are in the world, you will be able to watch it, because we are looking forward to seeing some of the best combinations in Australia. Jarryd, thank you. Good luck this weekend. I hope it all goes to plan.
Thank you very much, Nicole. Looking forward to it, and can't wait to kickstart it.
Oh, we can't wait as well. Listeners, let's now crack on with the preview part of those combinations lining up. Now we are going to dive into the preview part of the podcast. So, Wandin Park, who will be on top of the podium this weekend? I've got two very lovely guests. I'm going to start by welcoming Georgia Patrick to her first ever preview show.
Oh, thank you very much, Nicole. It's good to be here. Slightly scary.
I'm delighted. You are my new preview partner in crime. Right, our second guest is none other than friend of the show. She is a 5-star rider. She is a big podcast listener, very active on the Flick group. Sarah Clark, it is good to have you on the show.
Hello, it's really nice to be talking directly to you. Yes, I am a big podcast fan, so it's very exciting to be talking to you.
It's good to have you on the show, because actually you come forward with a very, very good chance in both the 4-star short and the 3-star long that we are going to be talking about at Wandin this weekend. Have you been to Wandin before? I think it was a few years ago.
Yeah, I think I've been there twice, and the last time would have been 4 or 5 years ago, so a long time ago. And I think it was when one of my first events that I did on my now 5-star horse. So it's kind of returning to our debut as a partnership, I guess.
Did it go well?
It did go well. I think I was really keen to get a then 1-star, now 2-star run qualification, which we did. I think I would have placed if I didn't have a huge amount of time faults, because I couldn't overly control him. And I think I had to turn a few circles to gain control. And if anyone kind of knows us, we've kind of, our journey together has mainly been one of gaining control together on cross country. But I'm glad to say that we are now a little bit more in sync.
Good. That is what we like to hear. LV Baloo Jeans is the ride that you bring forward. Tell us a little bit about him, because he's the horse that's taken you up to 5-star level. He completed Adelaide back in 2019 when it last rang. He was top 10 at Wallaby Hill at the beginning of December last year. Tell us a little bit about him.
He's quite a phenomenal horse, I have to say. He's warm blood bred, so he's by a show jumping sire called Baloo Away, hence his name. And he's only just turned, he's a 10-year-old now, but he's kind of rocketed up the levels a bit, I think. He's quite an incredible cross-country horse for me anyway. I think that's the reason why he's been able to give me so much experience at 4-star and 5-star, is because he just loves his job on the cross-country course, and he sees a fence and he wants to go between the flags, and he's given me, fulfilled some dreams that I never thought I would fulfill in going around Adelaide 5-star, and he gives me the feeling that he might be able to fulfill a few more of my dreams in maybe going round to Badminton. He has, dressage has probably not been our best phase. We've got a little bit of anxiety around flying changes, but we're working on it. But I forgive him that, because he's just given me a huge amount of confidence and being able to ride some of the bigger tracks.
What's he like as a character at home?
At home, he's pretty chilled out. He's a nice, relaxed guy. He's, for a big horse, a tall horse, he's about 17.1. He's really easy for me to handle on the ground. He's a gentleman. He's very polite. He'd be, a city gent with a bowler hat, and if he was a person. And people can't believe that I guess have trouble controlling him on cross country, because he's just so polite on the ground. And then they kind of see him run out cross country and they're like, oh.
He sees the red and white flags and gets a bit of wind up his tail.
I'm quite sure he understands the red and white flags, yes.
It's never a bad trait in event horse, though. It really isn't. Right, let's talk about Wandin this weekend. Georgia, what have we got in store? Because we have a slightly reduced field in the 4-star short. Wandin has traditionally been one of the biggest events. It's a real staple on the calendar in Australia. And it is very much going to be full of top names. Coronavirus means that the field is slightly more reduced. So what have we got in store?
I think the big one that stands out when you're looking at the numbers is that cross country. The clear rates really varied over time, with a kind of 40% back in 2013 and actually up at 90% in 2018. But the big standout part of the weekend will be that cross country time. From everything we've heard in kind of last year, the hills are the big test at Wandin, and actually in the last 10 years we've only seen 3 people make the time. 2 of them have gone on to win, Amanda Ross in 2019 and Andrew Cooper in 2017.
Okay, cool. And actually, listeners, there are some really fun past winners of Wandin. So Georgia just mentioned there Amanda Ross, Cocoa Popping Candy, Andrew Cooper, friend of the show. He doesn't know he's a friend of the show, but we've picked him as a friend of the show. If you're a regular podcast listener, then you will certainly know what I mean. T.S. Jemimo, the Adelaide 5-star winner with Chris Burton, actually won here in 2013 with Wilhelm Enzinger. And so I think that was the year in which Berto went on to ride him at Adelaide that year, I think. Going to check my memory on that one. Murray Lampard and Under the Clocks are past winners as well. So it's a really star-studded lineup of former Wandin winners. And we will have somebody winning at the level for the very first time, because none of the riders in the 4-star have actually won at that level previously. So that is quite exciting. Sarah, tell us a little bit about your thoughts ahead of the weekend and your plan with LV Ballet Jeans. Is it planning to go and be competitive, or are you looking for another target in the coming months?
Well, it's his first run back for 2021. And you've mentioned that the time is hard to get. I've only ever managed to get the time at 4-star level in the long format last year at Wallaby Hill. So I'm not, one of my goals is to get faster in the short format and not get so many time penalties. So I'm not convinced I'll be able to make the time, but I will certainly be trying to improve my record of acquiring time penalties at 4-star short. And I'm certainly out there to be competitive. I think I want to start making a bit more of an impact in the top end of the leaderboard. But it is his first run back, and just looking to give him a good start to the season with views for Melbourne 3-day in June.
I think one thing certainly Amanda was talking about last year was that the course has they've smoothed out some of the things, and actually hopefully the time's been easier, because certainly in the 3 times, 2 of them came in 2019 and 1 in 2017. So hopefully the time will be a bit kinder this year.
Right. And I was really, really chuffed to actually make the time at the 4-star long at Wallaby Hill at the end of last year, because I had actually been practicing. I've talked about the controllability of Jeans, but also I was aware that as a rider, I kind of found it hard to see and ride a distance at a fast forward gallop or cross country canter. And so over kind of the COVID break, I listened to a podcast with this Irish bloke who was talking about riding an accurate distance, and he did it well. So he would just ride a pole on the arena and try and get, 10 out of 10, a good accurate distance to that pole. I thought, oh, that's a good idea. So I kind of, over COVID, was trying to do the same thing, but out of a cross-country gallop and see a distance to a pole from a cross-country gallop. And at Wallaby Hill at the end of last year, I felt that really helped me keep a flow. So that definitely helped me make time at 4-star long. And we'll just see how much I can apply that to 4-star short, where there's, more fences in a shorter distance, and how much I can cross that over into the short format.
That's really interesting, actually. And Sam Watson will be delighted to hear that that has been helpful. The 4-star short level is traditionally a little bit harder, as you say, to make the time on than 4-star long, simply because there are far more jumping elements in a shorter space of time. Let's talk about a few of the other combinations, because it is a small field, but it is a field still that it is jam-packed full of quality. And the prediction centre, the EquiRatings Prediction Centre, the number has got us a fairly convincing win chance for Samuel Jeffrey and Woodmount Lolita. 44%. That's pretty big.
I watched them last weekend at Tonnenbach, actually. I think she was doing her first attempt at 4-star that weekend, where I think they finished second. And, really nice mare, actually. And I think it's got a pretty impressive jumping record in both cross country and show jumping throughout her career. And Samuel Jeffrey actually he's a really young rider, but a very kind of hardworking young professional with a pretty exciting team of horses, actually, and a lot of support from coaches and sponsors and things like that. So he's a bit of a young Australian rider to watch, really. And Lolita obviously coached really well at her first start at 4-star. So, and with a pretty consistent jumping record throughout her career, she's probably not going to be, well, given her consistency in the jumping phases, you'd think that the upgrade would be well within her grasp.
Yeah, she actually has never had a cross-country jumping penalty internationally. And she was on the podium at 3-star long level last year. The year before at Adelaide. I feel like we've missed a year. She's a winner at the level below. And she is, as you say, was runner-up on her debut at this level. So very, very good in the jumping phases, have never had more than one pole down in a show jumping round before. So that's an exciting one to watch. And I think they deserve that 44% win chance. Sarah, you actually are second on the EquiRatings Prediction Centre with a 23% win chance.
I'll take that.
There we go. Okay, let's see who else is in the lineup for the 4-star short. Kirili Hosier and Regal Red Jasper. 18 is Jasper now, but actually a horse that has had some really good, solid results at the level, has completed a couple of 4-star longs, including Wallaby Hill at the back end of 2019. I would say they might have a couple of poles down in the show jumping. That would certainly be their slightly weaker phase, but they are very, very established in the cross country in particular, very experienced at the level. 24 internationals has only ever once had a problem on the cross country, so definitely ones to keep an eye on. Who else have we got in the 4-star short? Georgia, anybody else to mention?
One that comes through to me is Van Heck, who's actually had 13 runs this level and comes here having jumped clear, and actually 90% of them. So we'd be hoping to have another clear round this weekend.
In the cross country?
In the cross country.
Okay, very, very solid. Laura Wallace. Courtney Fraser has Rockin' It. They are 4th on the Prediction Centre and 11% win chance. And that is a horse that actually did go to Tonnenbach at the level below, withdrew after dressage last time out. But didn't compete internationally last year, but have previously have been clear at 4-star level, although wouldn't be over experienced at level. This is the horse stepping up in only their second run at 4-star short. So that's Courtney Fraser. A few other names to mention for you listeners to keep an eye out. Isabel Houghton has Chalura Diarangle, and Sophie Fox, Mr. Pig, and Penelope Johnson, BB Boom are completing the lineup. But a really nice mix of a couple of combinations that are a bit more experienced, but also a few looking to make their mark. And we will, as I say, see somebody win at 4-star short level for the very first time at Wandin Park this weekend.
Okay. An interesting story about Isabel Houghton, actually. She actually suffered quite a bad fall on the flat. I think it was actually at Wandin. It would have been quite a few years ago now. And it was a very serious fall. She was actually in a coma for a long time when we were all very worried. And I think she had quite extensive brain issues. I don't want to speak out of turn, but I think she had quite serious head injuries. And I think actually from memory, it was about the time that William Fox Pitt came out of his coma, because I remember thinking, oh, that's such a hopeful sign, and oh, come on, Isabel, pull through, because we were all really, really worried. So I hugely, and she's a lovely girl and so loves her horses. And I'm so, impressed with her. So kind of going through that and regaining her strength and being not only back out there riding, but back out there riding at 4-star. Nice to kind of, always nice to have her out and about.
Yeah, it's a really, really good comeback. And actually, this is a horse that is 11 this time, and has been pretty good, generally speaking, in the cross-country phases. Just had a couple of problems on the record, but otherwise very, very solid. So hopefully they will have a good run this weekend. We've only got a small field, so I'm just going to ask us all to pick a winner. Georgia, Sarah, no pressure. You can pick somebody if you wish, but up to you. I don't like to put anybody too much on the spot. So I'll come to you in a second. But Georgia, who is your winner of Wandin in the 4-star this weekend?
I think for me, I have to go with the prediction centre with the numbers, and would be Samuel Jeffries and be Woodmount Lolita, having their second place at their first run, and I think they'll hopefully be able to back it up this weekend and one more place.
Go one better. Sarah, how about you? Do you want to? You don't have to. Your call.
No, I'd hate to be boring and agree with Georgia, but I watched the mare last weekend and it's pretty impressive. And he got a very good dressage score. The mare jumped amazingly. She's got an amazing jumping record. I think I would be a bit presumptuous to put anyone else above him, so myself included. So no, I'd have to agree with Georgia there. I reckon he's got the prediction centres probably got my agreement as well.
Okay, so you're both going Samuel Jeffrey. Do you know what? I am going to go for a girl called Sarah Clark and LV Baloo Jeans to win her first 4-star. Sarah, we will be rooting for you, absolutely. Good luck. Right, let's talk about the 3-star long, which is the first time that there is a 3-star long being held at the venue because of demand from the riders. The event have been brilliant in putting it on and really supportive to do so. So let's talk about a few of the ones in there to keep an eye on. Sarah, I'll ask you about your ride first, because you've got a really talented mare called Corsage in the lineup.
Yeah, she's quite the opposite of my other ride, Jeans. She is a tiny little fierce pocket rocket, but yes, very talented. If I can get her to focus and settle. I've had her since she was a foal, actually. I bought her kind of on weaning, and so brought her all the way up through the grades, and she frustrates me and delights me in equal measure. I think she's incredibly talented and she excites me so much, but she's still young, still an 8-year-old, and quite a slow maturer, so she's still strengthening, I think, and still settling in her brain, but just eating up the challenges at the moment, feeling like although she's tiny, she could. She doesn't feel like her height will limit how far she can go.
How big is she?
She does have quite a tall wither, actually. So she's probably would make 15.3 at the wither, but the rest of her is about 14.1.
Oh, well, bless her. And it's her first 3-star long, isn't it?
It is. She's done 2 3-star shorts, and this will be her first long format, actually, at any height. Her first long format in general.
Okay, cool. Well, Cassage is your ride. I was going to ask you actually about Wendy Schaefer-McDonald, because Wendy was on our show recently on the Atlanta special. Listeners, if you haven't listened, well worth going back and hearing Wendy relive that team gold medal for Australia at Atlanta 1996. But I know, Sarah, you often travel with Wendy. Are you in convoy again this weekend?
Yes, exactly. I'm more than in convoy. I'm in the truck.
Perfect.
Yes, we will be travelling together. And yes, Sunquest is a little thoroughbred that she bought when she kind of came back from the UK, actually, 2 years ago, maybe 2 or 3 years ago. But a very good jumping thoroughbred, and she's getting some lovely dressage work out of him now too. And she's actually said to me a couple of times, that he reminds her of Sunburst, which is the horse that she took to Atlanta. So it's quite exciting to hear her say that.
It's very good when a horse gives you the feeling of a horse that took you clear, and actually she would have individually won. The team and the individual competition were separate in Atlanta, as we spoke about on the show, but she won the team competition individually, if that makes sense as well. So that is quite a mention. Okay, so Wendy Schaefer-McDonald has Sunquest. Anyone from you, Georgia, that we should keep an eye on in the 3-star long as well?
I think the horse that really stands out to me is Cashier, who's ridden by Esmond Khan. Esmond Khan. So it's a horse he bought Luckia's record in the middle of 2020 from Andrew Cooper, who actually has already taken the horse up to 4-star and had some good results, had 2 wins with him there. And so hopefully Esme will be able to bring that quality through and have a really nice weekend here as well.
Usman actually represents Pakistan, I think, and during 2019 he was trying very hard to qualify his horse for the Olympics to represent Pakistan, but I think that horse, unfortunately, during 2020 had an injury or an illness, and he actually lost it. It passed away. So I think Cashier would be his hopeful replacement. He's a pretty determined guy to try and get on the represent Pakistan in the Olympics. So I would think Cashier would be his hopeful replacement of that lovely one he'd lost that was, I think, qualified for the Olympics.
That's really interesting, actually, because this 3-star long this weekend would be a big sort of tick in their qualification criteria if he is looking to get the horse to Tokyo. So he will still need to obviously complete that Tokyo qualification. I think he'll have until it is sometime in June to do so. So there is still time to do so, and the horse, as Georgia has said, has actually completed at 4-star long level previously. So that would be all systems go. And it would be great to see Usman at the Olympics. I'm pretty certain we have never had a Pakistani event rider at an Olympic Games. So I think he would be making history there. Okay, David Middleton has a couple of nice rides as well in WEC in the money and WEC in the swing. Both of those WEC in the money has been to 3-star long level previously. Actually went to Adelaide back at the end of 2019, but didn't complete, had a full cross country. And WEC in the swing is stepping up to 3-star long level for the first time, but would have a faultless international cross country record, albeit only from 3 runs. So that's an exciting one to watch. And actually, they might be a little bit off the pace in the first phase, but we'll be looking to pull it back in the jumping phases.
David's another one that's very experienced. I think he took a bit of time out from the sport for the past few years, but he's been back for a little while now. But I think he actually rode around Jerez World Equestrian Games. So he's very, very experienced, although having had a little bit of time away from the sport since his biggest highlights. But nice to see him back, and hopefully with a couple of exciting horses.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're completely right. He did ride in Jerez, actually finished just outside the top 10 individually, finished in 11th place with a horse called Autumn Sky, but did not compete internationally from 2008 all the way through to 2017. So had a really good break, and has come back, and these two horses in the last couple of years are taking him back up the levels slightly. So that's a really interesting one to watch. Can I ask you for your winner in the 3-star long, Sarah?
Oh, that's a tricky one. I'd say Wendy has a very good chance. She hasn't quite put the foot down on the cross country yet. It's a bit the same as mine. It's only run at 3 stars short twice. And she said she's just needed to take care of him a little bit. So she racked up a few time penalties that dropped her down the leaderboard at Tonnenbach. However, I think, the day that she goes out the start box and she doesn't feel like she has to take care of him, I think he will be able to make the time. It's just a matter of whether that time will be this time. But I think she's got a good chance of it coming any day soon. So I'll put her on top.
Okay, Wendy Schaefer McDonald for you, Sarah. Georgia, how about you?
I think I'm going to back Sarah on this one with Cassage. I know they're coming through for their first long format, but nice little horse.
She looks super cool, Sarah. If any of your videos on social media, she just looks like a little pocket rocket.
She is the definition of a pocket rocket. She's quite, yeah, I love it a bit.
Okay, I am going to go for, I think you and Wendy, Sarah, will both have a good weekend. And I'm going to say that the one we haven't mentioned is Earlier Munn and Shake My Hand, who have been very, very solid cross-country performers, but can have a few poles down in the show jumping. So I'm going to say Wendy Schaefer McDonald's for this one. Just to, take a little bit of the pressure off you, Sarah. I don't want to go too crazy. Look, good luck this weekend. When do you start your journey? Because it's a fair old trek for you, isn't it?
I think we're planning on driving overnight. So I think we're going to leave about 10 p.m. Wednesday and probably arrive just after 10 Thursday morning.
Okay, perfect. God, you have such a long old way to go. I know we've talked about this on the Eventing All Over the World special that we've done on Australia, listeners, but it really does put it into context. That's just 12 hours. You did a 12-hour journey just a couple of weeks ago as well, didn't you?
Yes, exactly. But it's not, we've got another Wallaby Hill in April, and we did Wallaby Hill in December, and that's nearer 24 hours. So it's long and painful, but it's not the longest or the most painful. And the horses do actually probably cope with it better than us drivers do. So
yeah, very true. They can sleep in the back. You've got to concentrate. We will have plenty of podcasts to keep you going, Sarah. There you go. Thank you very much for coming on the show.
No worry. I was just going to say, because Wendy hasn't listened to many of the podcasts. So actually on the last 12-hour drive we did, she had me going through your history, and I was reading out some of the descriptions, and she went, "Oh, that one. Let's listen to that one." So we haven't finished the history yet. So we've got to go through all the other podcasts, and I'm excited to re-listen to some old ones, and Wendy will be listening for the first time.
There you go. To be fair, we've got plenty to keep you going for a little while, so they'll help with the journey. Georgia, thank you very much as well for your first preview show.
No, thank you very much for having me.
Listeners, we hope that you enjoy Wandin Park this weekend. Big thank you to Sarah. Good luck this weekend. A thank you to Georgia and to Jarryd Stanley as well for joining us earlier on in the show. We'll be back very soon with a catch-up after the weekends for all of the action from both Wandin and from Carolina International as well. Thanks for listening. Thank you for listening to the EquiRatings Eventing podcast. This podcast is available for free on iTunes, Spotify, Podcast Addict, or wherever you usually listen to your podcasts. Make sure you subscribe so that you don't miss an episode. Find us at eventingpodcast.com or search Eventing Podcast on social media.